Hello, welcome to Microfiche Microphone. I'm Micah, and on this channel we look at microfiche from the past, old newspaper articles in the public domain. We look at them with our modern eyes, our modern perspective, and see what we can learn from them. On this Microfiche Time Capsule, we are looking back at the Biographical Encyclopedia, Volume 1, and this article, it's a compilation of articles. This one is called Williams, Frederick, Granger. What happened was, as I completely ran out of the other two series that we have been reading. We did Lives of Our Leaders series, and we did Greatness in Men series. And those are completely exhausted. But I realized that there is a lot of people that we hadn't covered yet that I would like to talk about. And so the next place I would go as a compilation of biographies is called the Biographical Encyclopedia. So this particular volume, there are 4 volumes. This was compiled by Andrew Jenson. He did not write most of the articles, although he did write a few. He was mostly compiling them and took articles from other people and asked other people to write about these individuals. So what I'm going to do in the next while is I'm going to go through all the members of the First Presidency, and then all of the Quorum of the 12, as far as they are covered by this Biographical Encyclopedia, which of course eventually we will run out because after it was published, a lot of things still happened. Time didn't stop. So we won't continue on moving forward, but if somebody, we will also fact check every article and with Wikipedia and see if there is more information there. There won't be for all of them. Also, the article today is quite short, which is why I'm rambling on, and I felt like I could go ahead and give you as much information as I wanted to give you about this new journey through the Biographical Encyclopedia, because Frederick Granger Williams, Frederick G. Williams. He was a member of the First Presidency under Joseph Smith. This is what I know about him off the top of my head. And they were close for a while, to the point that, if I'm not mistaken, I think Joseph Smith named one of his children after him. Frederick Granger Williams Smith. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. So they were quite close at one point. And then eventually Frederick G. Williams he apostatized. I think that was in the Nauvoo period, but it could have been Kirtland as well. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to find out. Hopefully we will find out from this article. Anyways, I thought that this would be a really good way to go through historically all of the people that most people don't know about. And afterwards we will continue. There's so many people to cover, and there's so much territory to cover, that I think that we will be occupied for a long time. So I'm kind of looking forward to these. Not all of them are very long. Some of them are very short, and some are relatively long. They can get pretty long. So let's find out any information about Frederick G. Williams. All right, Williams, Frederick Granger, second counselor to President Joseph F. Smith from 1833 to 1837, was born October 28, 1787, in Suffield, Hartford County, Connecticut. Was baptized in October 1830 near Kirtland, Ohio, and soon afterwards accompanied Oliver Cowdery and fellow missionaries on their journey from Ohio to Missouri. After his return to Ohio, he became one of the leading and influential men of the church at Kirtland, and according to Revelation, Doctrine and Covenants 96, he was ordained and set apart as second counselor in the First Presidency by Joseph Smith, March 18, 1833. In a subsequent revelation, he was called to preach the gospel. He labored as a member of a committee to arrange the interior of the Kirtland Temple. Really? And also took a leading part in establishing a printing office at Kirtland, after the destruction of the printing press in Jackson County, Missouri. In 1834, he went to Missouri as a member of Zion's Camp, acting as paymaster in that organization. After his return to Ohio, he accompanied the prophet Joseph on a short mission to Michigan. As a counselor in the First Presidency, he took an active part in everything pertaining to the building up of Kirtland as a stake of Zion, and especially in the erection of the house of the Lord at that place, for which purpose he contributed liberally of his time and means. When the sacred edifice was dedicated in March 1836, he enjoyed the glorious privilege of seeing an angel. That is quite amazing, yeah? Soon afterwards, he yielded to improper influences and became recreant in the duties pertaining to his high and holy calling. In consequence, he was rejected as a counselor in the First Presidency at an important conference held at Far West, Missouri, November 7, 1837. He was finally excommunicated from the church at a conference held at Quincy, Illinois, March 17, 1839. At a general conference held at Nauvoo, Illinois, in April 1840, he presented himself on the stand and humbly asked forgiveness for his past conduct and expressed his determination to do the will of God in the future. His case was presented to the conference by Hiram Smith, and he was freely forgiven. Soon afterwards, he was received into the fellowship of the church by baptism. He died as a faithful member of the church, October 10, 1842, at Quincy, Illinois. His only living son, Ezra Granger Williams, resides at Ogden, Utah. I didn't remember that he was rebaptized. I do remember him asking for forgiveness because they actually have it linked on my website. Here, I'm going to go ahead and read it since, it's my website. I'm allowed to do that. It's accepted. Okay. I am reading from the April 1840 General Conference, and this is way at the end. Okay. F.G. Williams presented himself on the stand and humbly asked forgiveness for his conduct and expressed his determination to do the will of God in future. His case was presented to the conference by President Hiram Smith, when it was unanimously resolved that F.G. Williams be forgiven and be received into the fellowship of the church. It was reported that 75 persons had been baptized during the conference, and that upwards of 50 had been received in the quorum of the 70s. President Hiram Smith was called upon to dismiss the assembly. After he had made a few observations, the conference was closed under the blessings of the presidency until the first day of October next. Joseph Smith Jr., President, Robert B. Thompson, Clerk. So it's not all related to it, and it's a little bit cold and protocol-y, Who's going to write the minutes of our conference? That's how it feels. But obviously that was the case at the time. But that's the only time he spoke in General Conference that I'm aware of. If there was another one, I don't have it. And I would love to have it if you know of any other time. But it says excommunicated, restored to fellowship. I really should change that to rebaptized. So I hopefully will be changed and fixed by the time that you listen to this. Anyways, that's all it says. So let's look on Wikipedia. But let's see, he died very quickly after that, yeah? Frederick G. Williams. All right. It shouldn't be too long. Yeah, it's not too long. All right. So Frederick Granger Williams, October 28th, 1787 to October 10th, 1842, was an early leader of the Latter-day Saint movement, serving in the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from 1833 to 1837. He was also one of the first recipients of the controversial Second Anointing ritual, the highest ritual in the LDS Church which guarantees salvation. I haven't heard of that. Anointing is the pinnacle ordinance of the temple and an extension of the endowment ceremony. Founder Joseph Smith taught that the function of the ordinance was to ensure salvation, guarantee exaltation. Hang on, let me look this up. And confer godhood. In the ordinance, a participant is anointed as a priest and king or a priestess and queen, and is sealed to the highest degree of salvation available in Mormon theology. Okay, they're alleging that this is still given to certain secret couples. Okay, the LDS Church regularly performed the ceremony for nominated couples from the 1840s to the 1920s and continued less regularly into the 1940s. By 1941, about 15,000 second anointings had been performed for the living and over 6,000 for the dead. The practice became much less common thereafter, but has continued into modern times. Really? I mean, Most modern LDS adherents are unaware of the ritual's existence. Instructors in the church's institutes of religions are told do not attempt in any way to discuss or answer questions about the second anointing. The ordinance is also performed by many Mormon fundamentalist groups. However, it is not performed by denominations such as the Community of Christ, who historically did not practice the Nauvoo endowment ceremony. Okay, that's new to me. Apparently that's a thing. I had never heard of this. If you have heard of this, write in the comments below. Like, have you heard of that? The second anointing? I had never heard of that before. Huh. I mean, historically, it's interesting. I don't think that it's really something I need to worry about. I mean, secret things like that, I personally don't consider in general to be necessary to salvation, because if it were, then more people would have it. Yeah? But I kind of, like, I'm sorry, but salvation, exaltation is always conditional, and it always has been, always will be. And so saying that if you just get this second anointing that you'll definitely, like, achieve godhood, that's, you're going a bit far there, Sweetie Pete. You know? Like, you can't say that. Anyways, I didn't mean to open that can of worms. Like, that's a Pandora's box if there ever was one. Gosh. Okay, I am going to close that chapter right now. We may eventually return to it, but I found that very interesting. If you're interested in learning more about it, there's a Wikipedia page on it. The second anointing. There you go. Okay, moving back to Frederick G. Williams. Okay. Williams was born at Suffield, Connecticut, to William Wheeler Williams, so 3 W's, WWW, and Ruth Granger. He studied the herb-based Thomsonian method of medicine and worked as a medical doctor. I didn't know that. In the War of 1812, Williams was present for battles on the northern frontier. He became a maritime pilot on waterways from Buffalo, New York to Detroit. He married Rebecca Swain in December 1815. By 1828, he was living in Chardon, Ohio, and he moved to Kirtland in 1830. While in Ohio, he associated himself with Sidney Rigdon and the Disciples of Christ. Okay, so he was one of Sidney Rigdon's crowd. That makes sense. When Oliver Cowdery and the other Latter-day Saints were traveling through Kirtland, they taught and baptized many in Rigdon's congregation, including Williams. Yeah, that makes sense. On July 20th, 1832, Williams was appointed scribe to Joseph Smith and joined the church's first presidency the next year. Well, you don't join the first presidency, you're called to the first presidency. So that's a little bit strange wording there. He was a member of the committee appointed to publish the Doctrine and Covenants, a portion of the church's canon, as well as the church's first hymnal from 1835, compiled by Smith's wife Emma under the auspices of F.G. Williams & Co. Okay, so we had a printing press, I guess. In 1837, Williams was elected a Justice of the Peace in Kirtland, appointed an officer in the Kirtland Safety Society, released from the First Presidency, and moved to Far West, Caldwell County, Missouri. Although there was no record of an excommunication, Williams was rebaptized in August 1838. He was excommunicated in absentia in March 1839 by proceedings in Nauvoo, while Joseph Smith was in Liberty Jail, Missouri. Interestingly, Williams was at Liberty Jail to see Joseph Smith about the time he was excommunicated. Williams was restored to fellowship at a church conference presided over by Smith in April 1840. Williams died of a pulmonary hemorrhage at Quincy, Illinois, in October 1842. That's interesting. That's the second person who had one of those. Like, pulmonary hemorrhage is basically like an aneurysm. Like, it's a bleed. It's an internal bleeding. I'm trying to remember. I think it was John F. Boynton who had one too. That's interesting. Like, of all things to kill you, you know? I don't know that they were that common, but maybe they were. I don't know. Alright, there's a little bit more of the Pandora's box about the second anointing. I am going to skip it because I don't know about that and I didn't mean to open the Pandora's box, so let's just set it aside for now, yeah? Legacy. As Smith's scribe and counselor, Williams became a close friend and confidant of the prophet Joseph and Emma Smith. And Joseph and Emma Smith named one of their sons, Frederick Granger Williams Smith, after him. That's a really badly written sentence, actually, but it needs, you're missing the end of it. Okay. As Smith's scribe and counselor, Williams became a close friend and confidant of the prophet. Joseph and Emma Smith named one of their sons, Frederick Granger Williams Smith. Okay, I guess that was a complete sentence, but it'd say after Williams, but whatever. Okay, June 20th, 1836 to April 13th, 1862. So he lived, he lived to adulthood. I mean, he didn't have a long life, but yeah, Frederick Granger Williams Smith. Yeah. The lineage of Williams continues in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Williams' great-great-grandson and namesake, Frederick Granger Williams, served as president of the Recife, Brazil Temple, 2009 to 2012, and then as a professor at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. Okay, there you go. So I do like that legacy. I'm not sure about the whole second anointing stuff, and I'm a little weirded out by it. Saying that he was rebaptized. Okay, so let me get this right. So he was originally baptized in 1832. Yes? Okay, I think that's right. 1832. And then he became part of the first presidency in 1833. He did a bunch of stuff with the church, including publishing the Doctrine and Covenants and the church's first hymn book. He was working with the Kirtland Safety Society, and then the bank failed. So, and then he was released. Okay, when the bank failed, a lot of people apostatized, so maybe he was one of them. Released from the first presidency around that time. And then he was rebaptized in August 1838. Then he was excommunicated in March 1839, and then baptized again in April 1840. Do I have that right? So he was baptized 3 times, but only excommunicated for sure once, possibly twice. Question mark. If it was twice, it wasn't very well documented, but I don't understand that. Like, why would it be twice? I don't know. Like, it seems a little strange. They didn't mention the rebaptism in August 1838 in the article. I'm a little skeptical on that one. I'm not 100% sure that happened. Maybe there was a record somewhere, but I'm not sure about it, and I find that a little bit strange. But they did mention that he was excommunicated in absentia in March 1839. So that one I can totally get behind. I'm pretty sure that's true. But then rebaptized in April 1840, sure. And then died in October 1842, so shortly thereafter. Which means it was possible he didn't have terribly good health at the time. Just trying to read between the lines. What's interesting about this is how many parallels there are to John F. Boynton. Because, the rest of his life was very different. Like, the way he died and some of his background was very similar. So it's a little strange. Because they were both medical doctors. They both died of a pulmonary embolism, not embolism, hemorrhage, internal bleeding. From, burst blood vessel, basically. And, they probably both knew it was happening, because John F. Boynton describes it knowing exactly what was happened, but just being completely unable to stop it. He knew he was going to die of it, and soon. Yeah, that's crazy. And then the legacy was interesting, that I told you that Joseph named one of his sons after him. And I thought that was really cool at the time, they must have been quite close, at least for a while. Maybe not the entire time, but anyways, he sounds like an interesting person. I wish there was more here. I wish there was more substance to this. I'm very skeptical on the second baptism, and I really don't want to open the Pandora's box of the second anointing. If you want to read about it, go ahead, and You know, that's up to you. But it seems like a very niche. It's very niche. Yes. It's a very niche subject, with most people not knowing about it. And I think, in my opinion, that that's why it was discontinued, for two reasons. Number one, it shouldn't be secret. If things are done in the church, they shouldn't be secret. Church things are not secrets as a general rule. You don't talk about sacred things to just anybody, but you don't keep it a secret from the general population, where, you know, even if somebody did do it, that they aren't allowed to ever talk about it. That's weird, yeah? The other thing is that, like I said, exaltation is always conditional. You can't guarantee exaltation. You can't. Like, you do what you can do during your lifetime. So, I mean, let me just give an example, okay? Let me give me an example, and then you'll see that I'm right, okay? So let's say somebody did have this second anointing that guarantees them exaltation, quote unquote. And then they go through a complete change of heart, where they stop going to church completely, knowing that they have now been, you know, exaltation guaranteed, which means it's no longer conditional on anything that they do. So, you know what? I'm going to go out and become a child rapist. Yeah? Awesome. No. This is not how things are done. And I sincerely doubt that was ever something that would actually work. And so let me just throw that out there. I'm not going to open up the Pandora's box, but that is my opinion on anything that claims things like this. It guarantees exaltation. No, it doesn't. Exaltation is never guaranteed. It is always conditional on your behavior and the pureness of your heart and intentions. I don't believe it, and I will never believe it. So that is my opinion. You don't have to share my opinion. I have no problems with people disagreeing with me. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. I expected this to go a lot faster than it did, because it turned out that there was a whole Pandora's box waiting for me in there. But I hope you enjoyed hearing about Frederick G. Williams anyway. And if you did, please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.